Hello, my name's Ben.
And my name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates, and welcome back to another video where we're going to be discussing a wildcard draft. We're going to be discussing Josh's wildcard draft that he's got for this week for the upcoming game week. Game week 8 is just around the corner. Josh has hit that wildcard, so we're going to analyse his wildcard team and see if it's all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, obviously I've had to hit the wild card due to the postponed fixtures this week. As you might know, it's a blank game week this week. 6 teams aren't playing, Liverpool, Chelsea, United included. So that means a lot of players were missing from my team this week. So I hit the wild card. I was going to do it next week anyway, so I decided to hit early instead of wasting a free hit. And that would be my advice to a lot of people who are looking to play a free hit this week. I'd try and use that wild card if you have it instead, because at the end of the day, you'll probably wild card next week. I know we've got an international break. But yeah, I think that's the best move that you can do. So let's get into it. Okay, so in goal is like every other wildcard I've pretty much seen. It's Danny Ward and Nick Pope. Nick Pope is obviously part of Newcastle's defence, which has been very good. He's actually racked up a lot of saves so far this season, and he is the top scoring goalkeeper, 1 point ahead of Jose Sarr with 36 points. Danny Ward, £4 million. He's a playing keeper for now anyway. Leicester's defence is just poor in general, and he's not really helping matters. So it wouldn't shock me if he did get rotated out for maybe Iverson, but he's playing for now, so he'll stay there in goal. I think other options you could maybe look at is maybe Guaita and Begovic. Obviously, Palace blank this week, but Begovic will be playing in first-team football as Pickford is injured. He hasn't been called up to the England squad, so that does suggest it's quite a long-term injury. So yeah, that's another option, but I think this is the way to go. What's your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I think Nick Pope has got the save potential for sure. He produces a high volume of saves, just like we've seen from keepers of previous seasons. And I think, you know, even if he doesn't keep the clean sheet, and I think he does keep sort of at least sort of 3 or 4 in the next sort of 6, 7, 8 games, he will rack up points. And when he does get that clean sheet, he'll be high up on the list of potential bonus points as well. That's if Newcastle sort of keep the score relatively low. So I think Pope is definitely the best goalkeeper to go for right now in the game. And it's just whether you think it's worth spending sort of that 5.1, 5.2 million on Nick Pope for your wildcard team.
Right, moving on to the ultra-large defence that we've just come across. Lucas Digne is our first defender, or my first defender, should I say, in this wildcard draft. Villa's fixtures are really good. Next 5, you know, they play 4 really good teams in Chelsea in that time. 4.7 million is not bad. Villa aren't the best defensively. I'm not going to, you know, overshadow that. But I think attacking-wise, Digne could provide maybe 1 or 2 returns in that time. He has been the ultimate troll in recent years, but you know, I think it's a punt like worth taking. It's not as if he's like 5 million like he was in years gone. He's pretty much, you know, a really cheap defender that I could easily move on to maybe like a Palace defender. They have really good fixtures in 2 game weeks time. So there's a lot of different options at that price. I think he's one of the better ones. Next up to him is Reece James. Obviously blanks this week, but he'll be a really good asset going forward. I'm excited to see how Graham Potter really rejuvenates this Chelsea team. I think he's going to be a good fit there. They've got quite a lot of the players that he needs already, I think, and Reece James is definitely going to be one of those. Nico Williams up next, the best budget defender on the game, I think. 4.1 million. Forest fixtures as well. Really, really good in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Fulham at home this week. He'll be probably starting in my team. Cancelo next. Man City defender. Nailed. I don't know much else what you'd want from him. He's been really good, even with low XG and XA this season. He's, you know, picked up, I think, 2 attack and returns in the first 6 game weeks, which is really good. And then finally, gone with the double up Newcastle defence, Kieran Trippier. I think almost everyone owns Kieran Trippier at this point. Really, really good player. Only 1 goal involvement this season. I think we'll see more to come over the next few weeks with better fixtures in terms of attacking fixtures for Newcastle. What's your thoughts on those 5 defenders, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, between Nico Williams and Patterson, you probably got the best 2 £4 million defenders. I know a lot of talk about Emerson in sort of recent weeks, but with Cresswell coming back in, is he as nailed on as we'd like to think he is? I'm not too sure personally. We've obviously Digne, could he be a trap? He's been a notorious FPL troll for the last sort of few seasons. So I'd be a bit unsure about him despite the good fixtures. Gerrard's not really got that Villa team playing all that well yet. Reece James, I think, is a fantastic pick. I think everyone should be looking at getting him in on the wild card. He is going to be playing right wing back regardless He may sort of, with Potter and the way he plays, there may be times where it looks like he's sort of slotted in at centre back when the left side is bombing on forwards, but we do know he's going to get high, wide, and he's going to get lots of chances. A bit like João Cancelo, we've seen an upturn in his XG and XA output over the last few weeks, especially in the Champions League. And that has been when he's moved over to the right-hand side. He's much more dangerous when playing at right back. And with Kyle Walker still potentially out injured, I think he is a must-have in a wildcard. And then Kieran Trippier ticks along for fun with bonus points because of the chance that he creates from the set pieces. So Pope and Trippier, 2 bonus point magnets. I don't think you can go wrong with the double up of the Newcastle guys there.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield. It's getting interesting in here. So Martinelli is first into the team. Personally, not a massive fan of him. He hasn't been in my draft all this long, to be honest. It's mainly just because of Arsenal's fixtures. So they obviously have Brentford this week. It's not a terrible fixture, and I know a lot of people will still own Arsenal assets going into this week, whether that be Jesus, Martinelli, or a defender. But then after that, they have Spurs, they have Liverpool. They also blank in game week 12 as well. Now they don't face Man City in that week. So I think there's a lot of cons when it comes to Arsenal assets. And I'm not sure there's too many pros at the minute compared to similar players at that price. But at that 6.5 million price, there's not really many other players. St. Maximin is, rumoured to be quite a big doubt for the weekend. So he's not necessarily an option. And I don't think there's anyone else really that takes my fancy at that price. Maybe Rashford, but again, he blanks this week, and then there's the Manchester Derby next weekend. So there's a lot of things to consider. Not nailed on Martinelli, but he is good if you've got him already. I would suggest probably keeping him. Next up is James Maddison. We spoke about him in the transfer targets video. I think he's got really good fixtures coming up. I think even the Spurs game, not necessarily a bad one for Leicester with the way they play. Set pieces, he's a good asset to own, in my opinion, at 7.9 million. Kevin De Bruyne is my first premium of this team. Really interested to see how he's played with Haaland so far this season. I think he's probably gone under everyone's radar in terms of the premium watch. A lot of people are looking to bring him in this week. I know maybe transferring Salah out for him and stuff like that. So he's an interesting player to pick up. Obviously, a double up on that Man City attack, you're relying on them heavy. But if there's a team that you want to rely on, it's probably going to be Man City week in, week out. Andreas Pereira up next, just the best bench fodder you could probably get. He's going to play all the time. Potentially, he's already picked up a couple of assists this season as well. Really, really tidy player. And then Jarrod Bowen finishes off the midfield, 8.1 million, come down 0.4 million. No goals or assists this season, which is controversial. A lot of people are not feeling the Bowen hype. Personally, I am. He's got the same attacking data as Maddison, and a lot of people are looking at Maddison. So I think for me, Bowen, with these easier fixtures for West Ham, we'll see some more attacking returns with the potential of him being the penalty taker. What's your thoughts on the midfield then?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see a shift in the template, especially from the midfielders, the 2 £8 million midfielders. What did I say at the start of the season, guys? That everyone at some point will be needed in that £8 million slot, and it's worth having one of them in, because I said there's a plethora of options, and now even Bowen's at that £8 million price point. There's either going to be a guy that's ridiculously in form or has ridiculously good fixtures, and these guys have ridiculously good fixtures. So it's definitely worth considering these two. I'd say it's worth probably having 2 out of 3 of maybe Maddison, Bowen, and Zaha, because I think Zaha holds that threat and is just that little bit cheaper as well if you don't have the budget. But I do like those two in terms of midfielders. Andreas is a good placeholder. I'd also maybe look at, if you're looking at someone sort of cheap bench fodder, Bailey is dropped to the point where he can be considered as bench fodder too. And then De Bruyne, I think, is a decent option. It's just worth sort of noting that, having him in makes it an easier route back to Salah when their fixtures turn a little bit better from like game week 12 onwards. So I definitely think that's a good shout. And with sort of the blank that Manchester City have when they play, when Arsenal play in the Europa League, it would be an easy move to make. So overall, it's a pretty well balanced midfield.
Okay, so moving on to the forward line. There is no 3 premiums in this draft. I know I posted one on TikTok this week. A lot of people seem to like it. Some people seem to hate it. It depends how you can disperse the funds around the team. For me personally, I think the lower price midfielders are just not good enough. And we've seen so many good options up front that I think one of these sort of 3 or 4 attackers you could definitely pick from. Obviously, up front, Mitrovic and Haaland, they sort of pick themselves. They're the two highest players in the whole league for XG, and they've proven it with their return so far this season. I don't really need to touch on Haaland at all. He's been an absolute joke this season, and Mitrovic pretty much the same, to be fair. You know, he's returned in every single game, barring that game week 2 away at Wolves where he missed the penalty. So he could have easily returned in every single game, just like Haaland this season. To partner them, it is Brennan Johnson at 5.9 million. Forest's fixtures look really good. He's their penalty taker. So for a penalty take for under 6 million, which is, you know, pretty much unheard of unless your name's Luka Milivojevic. So yeah, really good player. Plays most minutes as well for Forest. I think he's pretty nailed in that team. What's your thoughts on that attacking three, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I like Mitrovic and Haaland, that's for sure. Obviously, Brennan Johnson is sort of a little bit more differential, but again, like he's a cheap playing forward. I'd definitely be looking as well to consider someone like Dom Solanke. It's worth having a look at him. He's the cheapest playing forward at 5.7 million. He's got some good fixtures coming up, so you'd like to think that his potential to score a couple of goals would be quite high, and at that price point, it's a little bit less of a risk as well. So it's a risk-free pick there for your third striker position, and one that you'd probably be happy to bench more often than not to.
Yeah, 100% with that, and it's nice to have that rotation option as well when fixtures do get hard, or when there will be blanks later on in the season as well. So we know those 3 City boys will not be playing in game week 12. Just like Martinelli. So if I don't use transfers, I can always rotate in and out. It's good depth in the team. Other forward options you could choose from. Obviously, Ivan Toney's been in banging form so far this season. He's a very good option to go for. Fixtures aren't necessarily the easiest, but I wouldn't say they're the hardest either. They're sort of just mid-term fixtures. These guys have better fixtures than him at the moment. The other option is Alexander Isak. A bit of uncertainty around him with Callum Wilson potentially returning for Newcastle. So we don't know who the first choice striker is at the minute. So that's personally turned me off a little bit of that Newcastle attack. I don't know about you, Ben. What's your thoughts on the whole Isak situation?
Yeah, I think a lot of FPL managers are excited by sort of like a shiny new toy in Isak. He looks decent, but his scoring record previously in leagues and in previous seasons does not match that of Alexander Mitrovic. That's for sure. So I'd definitely be leaning more towards Mitrovic. Toney even has sort of more has a more established goal record in English football as well. So I'd potentially be looking at those two ahead of him. And it's just the unknown as well when Callum Wilson's back. How are Newcastle going to set up with that?
So that is my game week 8 wildcard draft. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Don't slate me too much, honestly. I'm chopping and changing every hour. So I'm sure that won't be the finalised team. If you want to see the finalised team, head over to our Patreon and see if you want to sign up. We'll be rating everyone's teams over there. We've seen loads of wildcard drafts this week, haven't we, Ben?
Yeah, we've seen loads, and we've seen loads of different options that you can go. How many premiums are you going to go with? 2, 3? I don't think you can fit 4 in, though. That's the thing. But yeah, as usual, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as per usual, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.